I first met him in 3rd grade.
By high school, Jennifer and Daniel were inseparable.
And then I decided I was going to marry him.
After growing up together, they married and started raising their family in Elk Grove.
He was like the fun one. I was the more serious one, so we have good memories with him. We always talk about him. We were going to the store. He wasn't really acting like himself. He was just a little bit off.
Jennifer said Daniel's driving was worrisome. She had no idea he had methamphetamines in his system.
That was surprising to me.
She decided to get out of the car, and once she did, Daniel drove on. Out of a concern for his and others' safety, she decided to ask for help and called the Elk Grove Police's non-emergency line.
Never thinking, not for 1 second, that anything like this would happen.
Unbeknownst to Jennifer, Daniel then got into a car accident and tried to run from police when they arrived on scene.
Hey, come here. Were you driving? Hey!
The 2 Elk Grove police officers pursuing Daniel used a taser and then handcuffed him. And as he continued to resist, they used their body weight on top of his back as he laid face down.
Hey, we need one more.
And called over more officers.
4 police officers at one time were on him. I think they said it was like 800 pounds on top of him. I don't know why they had to do that when he was face down on the ground with his hands handcuffed behind his back.
Audio from body camera footage shows police continued to hold him down, waiting for a wrap, a device that allows a person to be restrained but out of prone position. But as an officer carried in the wrap,
Are you still good? Hey, for the same Hey.
they noticed he was blue and his nose was
Start
bleeding.
doing the wrap. Get him off his nose, dude. Is he bleeding from the nose? Get him. Hey. He's blue. He's turning blue, dude. Hey. Roll over right now.
Officers began administering CPR.
Dude, he's blue. He's not responsive.
He was transported to the hospital where he was pronounced dead, leaving his wife and 5 children behind.
They don't have a dad. He's really a good guy and a good dad. I mean, took care of us, you know?
In the Sacramento County District's attorney's investigation, the autopsy concluded that Landros's death was due to restraint as well as methamphetamine intoxication.
He did tell them to get off. You're killing me.
He said that.
He said that. Those were like his last words. Oh my God. He was scared.
Landros's death occurred over 4 years ago here in Sacramento County, but the world wasn't familiar with the dangers of a person being under the weight of officers while in a prone position until May 25th, 2020. That was the day that George Floyd died, when our streets went from looking like this to
After outcry, Governor Newsom ordered California police training programs to stop teaching officers how to use carotid holds in California.
That has no place any longer.
But actually, the carotid hold is different than a prone position. Prone is a position where they're lying flat, chest down, and back up, while carotid is a restraint that specifically reduces blood flow to the brain. But the prone position alone can also be deadly, something that law enforcement agencies should be aware of considering this. A now 2.5 decades old bulletin from the Department of Justice warning law enforcement to, as soon as the suspect is handcuffed, get them off of their stomach because of the risk of positional asphyxia.
If you or I or another healthy individual was placed in that position with nothing else going on, it'd be very rare that would result in death. But for individuals who have been in a scuffle with police, if you're under the influence of some kind of a stimulant, if you're obese, and you put that person face down, bad things are going to happen. When you add weight to their back, then the problem just accelerates.
We were part of a nationwide investigation that looked at over 100 deaths caused by positional asphyxia within the last 10 years, showing it's a national problem. Data shows it's also an issue here in California. In 2019 alone, there were around 280 use of force incidents that resulted in serious bodily injury or death that involved the carotid hold or another type of control hold. So if California banned the carotid hold, what's our law enforcement stance on other holds that could cause positional asphyxia, like putting a person that's handcuffed in the prone position, then applying weight? Well, that's where it varies.
Policies between agencies are going to be different. You could have, two cities 5 miles apart from each other that have very different policies.
As for the Elk Grove Police Department's policy on prone position, they don't have one. This was revealed when Jennifer went looking for answers about her husband's death. She said Elk Grove police didn't give her any specifics, leading her to believe Daniel was killed in the car accident, not after.
I wanted to know what happened to my husband, because they didn't say like, oh, we arrested him or he died in custody. None of that.
She decided to sue, which she said helped give her insight into what actually happened the night her husband died.
It was like a year when I started getting answers.
The lawsuit led to a deposition which ABC10 acquired. During it, Jennifer's attorney demanded answers from the Elk Grove Police Department on their protocol for prone position. He asked, did the policy address whether or not there were any potential risks about keeping handcuffed individuals in a prone position? Their answer, no, not specifically to prone. He then asked, did the policy address any risk concerned to having weight placed on handcuffed individuals? To which they replied, no. We followed up with the Elk Grove police to see if they've updated their policy to include the prone position or positional asphyxia in the years following Landros's death in 2016. They said while prone position isn't in their policy, they train arrest control techniques that address the best practices of safely detaining someone using the prone position. And just 2 hours away in Rohnert Park, California, officers weren't even trained on positional asphyxia prior to the death of Branch Roth in 2017. He died after being held down under police's weight in a prone position.
They specifically train their officers that there's no such thing as positional asphyxia. That's dangerous.
The Roth family sued the city of Rohnert Park, settling just weeks ago for $2 million. But these two departments aren't alone. Not a lot of law enforcement agencies have policies specified to restraining someone in a prone position.
Is there an overall policy that says you can't apply weight to someone on their back if they're in a prone position?
No, there won't be. The wording of all of these policies will say that the officers may use force which is objectively reasonable.
So when prone restraint deaths do happen, if it's the city or police that are being sued, who's footing the bill?
Ultimately, just like you or I, if we were in an automobile accident and hurt someone, we have insurance to cover it. We have to pay a deductible, and then the insurance kicks in the rest up to a certain amount. Municipalities in California are the same.
But that can kick up the overall cost of a city's insurance premium.
And so even though the taxpayer is not paying these verdicts or settlements directly, it is coming out of their pocket in the end because they have to pay next year's increased premiums, which are substantial.
It's impacted other places in California like Sonoma in the past.
There have been so many police-related deaths that the county sheriff's insurance has tripled.
So what's happening closer to home? Police liability is one of the most expensive claims for the city of Sacramento. From 2018 to 2019, total insurance premium costs increased over $1 million, while the city of Elk Grove's premium increased just over $62,000, which they credit to overall cost, not police liability. But the Landros's case has yet to be heard in front of a jury or settle. Jennifer said that in suing, she hopes to prevent this use of force in the future.
I don't know what's going to happen. It's discouraging actually, because it just keeps happening over and over again.
We reached out to the Elk Grove Police Department requesting an interview. They said due to pending litigation, they could not grant an interview or comment.